These times in the markets for Bitcoin and crypto have never happened before. So how can we be so sure what is coming next? I want to show you that in today's video. So make sure you hit the subscribe button if you are new. 3 out of 10 of you are new to the channel, and also hit the like button so we can pump up that algorithm. All right, guys, you're on your home of macro cycle analysis, studying the past to forecast the future. We're looking at Bitcoin, crypto, the stock markets, plenty of them today from all around the world, and also the real estate cycle. Don't go anywhere, as we have plenty to update you with here on the channel. Links in the video description for our TIA Premium membership and also the free crypto and economic report. More on those later. Let's kick it off with the short-term analysis before we dive headfirst into the macro across the globe and how this is all forming a major picture for Bitcoin and crypto leading into this final stage of the cycle. The moment, Bitcoin 57,700. This is our March signal, the 3 days down. Viewers of the channel would be very familiar with this now. In March, very unpopular at the time to suggest that we were going to go for a correction that potentially would last longer than the previous corrections and longer than most were hoping for at the time, when many were looking for $80,000 to $100,000 Bitcoin. I did some analysis here on this signal, and it came up with the possibility that Bitcoin would be underneath the old all-time high for 4 to 6 months. We are a day away from the 4-month mark now. 1 day away. We're at 119 days underneath the $74,000 top, and somewhere in this period, I think we'll start to see Bitcoin break past 64K, potentially even break into a new all-time high. Not getting too far ahead of ourselves because this year is an election year, but I still see things as very, very positive, as I'll show you in this video. Looking at the data, looking at the charts, nothing, well, not that much subjectivity. We want to bring in as much objectivity and sway the probabilities to our side of the ledger. So that's what we're looking at right now. So BTC, the safe waypoint is still roughly around the mid 60s, and that is just looking at the low to the top, splitting it in half, and that's $63,700. So that's where you want to see that price get to start to confirm that that low is in, and basically hold above that level to consolidate before it can get higher and test the $74,000 top. Now, what's helping that is the Fear and Greed Index. It's still at 29, still underneath the 30 level, and that has been going on now for several days. We just take it back here. We've got plenty of readings here at 29, 28, 27. So this is a good sign for the markets because it's getting the greed out of the markets. You definitely want to see the greed leave, the fear come back in. We use our old mate Warren Buffett's saying, his quote, "Be fearful when others are greedy." And that's exactly what we did. I want to make a huge emphasis to that at the peak. I was very, very fearful on the run up, and maybe a little too early. That's okay. The main thing is you want to be fearful when others are greedy and not be buying in as the run up is occurring at that extreme greed. And then on the corrections, when many are fearful, well, you want to have some sort of signals to suggest that it could be somewhere around the low. You never know the exact price of the low. That's just normal. No one's trying to pick the exact low. You just want to have a zone that you feel comfortable as being the low period. Okay, so that's where we currently sit with BTC at the moment. Looking at all of our signals coming together, plenty of these in terms of the monthly time frame also came together to give us that top, and I suspect it's going to happen again when we get closer to the next top, and that might be another intermediate top, or it could be the final top. So that's what we'll continue to watch here on the channel. So in terms of the longer term charts, let's start with BTC and the money supply. It broke out in February, put in a high in March, and so far has continued to consolidate above the previous tops on a monthly closing basis. So not just the peaks themselves, but basically those monthly closes. You can see the price here is still sitting on top of those. Now, of course, there's 21 days to go in July now, but the idea here is that if it's going to show some strength, you'd probably want to see it remain above these levels for the majority of the closes. You can see at the low here, there was 2 closes that went underneath the support level and then quickly back above. And then with the consolidation that we saw back in 2023, it was above the previous old top of 2017. So it consolidated above that level and then took off again. So plenty of months to consolidate or to finish this pattern before another move to the upside. At least that's what I'm thinking based on the next lot of data here. So this one here, obviously we've seen it many times. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe now. This is the 18-year cycle. We've been talking about this now for over 6 years. There's some videos back on the channel of 2018, so prior to the mid-cycle slowdown, talking about it going into this peak and then a correction and then this final winner's curse. So now 6 years this has been playing out. We're into this winner's curse phase now. This is where we see the market right now. So never before has Bitcoin been through a winner's curse phase of the 18.6 year real estate and economic cycle. This is a huge milestone. This will be the first time that we get to see some data for Bitcoin going through this particular phase. And the interesting part about the winner's curse phase is that basically everything is going up together. This is the extreme greed of financial markets around the world. It's lining up to be absolutely ballistic and has already begun if you haven't been watching the stock markets around the world. Okay, so we've got a few data points here first to just weigh in to how these markets continue up. I go through a lot of this stuff in every video, so I'm not going to have every single piece of data, otherwise this video could be hours long, so that's why I talk about subscribing, but I've said that enough times in this video. This one here is looking at household balance sheets remain stronger than in 2019 across the distribution. So basically all households here, you can see in the grey, 2024 quarter one, their balance sheets are remaining stronger than they have done in 2022 and 2019. So still doing relatively well. Brought to us by Seth, who also has fantastic data that continues to show why the cycle is up using his style of data as well. This one here also just looks at all-time highs for the stock market. So if you see 131 days or 130 days of the trading year, that has been positive, basically between 15 to 20%. So the stock market is up about 18%. This is the S&P 500, is up about 18% for 2024. Typically, that second half of the year, you would see a positive result 10 out of 11 times, giving you roughly about a 91% hit rate that the rest of this year is also going to be green. Now, there is an occasion there in 1983 that it wasn't positive, but the majority, the probabilities are on the side of it being green for this year, being higher than where it opened. Now, I don't know too many people that would suggest that it's going to be lower than that now, but this was a big deal in 2022 and 2023 when the masses were bearish and the recession, the looming recession was here, which we never got a recession. There was no recession in the US, there was no recession in Australia, there was a technical recession in the UK, there was a technical recession in Germany. At the time, their stock markets were going into new all-time highs. So if you're trying to trade or invest in a market, figure out what is more important, the price or the headline of a recession. Now, I talked about that many times before. The most important thing for us is the price, not a headline about recession, because we can't make money off the headline of recession unless we're putting out the headlines of recession. Makes sense, doesn't it? So just focus on the price and the data and the facts, and essentially the cycle is still in full swing to the upside. In the most extreme case, the winner's curse phase, a stage that we haven't seen Bitcoin and cryptos into yet. Doesn't mean that they can't collapse, but there's a lot of evidence suggesting that they've still got further upside, as we can see with the rest of the markets. So I've looked at that. Now, the next one, average cumulative S&P 500 total returns, essentially buying into all-time highs. If you invest at a new all-time high price, you have better gains than investing on any day throughout the year. You can see, looking forward, that 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you've got 28% 8.9% as opposed to 25%. That's for the 2 years. 1 year ahead, you're still ahead if you're investing at a new all-time high. And then again for the 3 years, still better off as well, and only marginally better there for a 6-month period. So it is a longer term outlook here. The reason for that is that when stocks or stock markets break into a new all-time high, there's no overhead resistance, and basically the hopes and the dreams begin. How high can this thing go? And that continues to spur on the upside over and over and over again. Then we get into this final stage, the winner's curse, and basically people are just buying because they expect higher prices, like what's happening with real estate at the moment. They're just expecting that it's going to continue to go up indefinitely. Yeah, there are some negatives on the sidelines, this economic data, this, CPI that, interest rates, blah, blah, blah. It hasn't meant anything over the last several years, and there's always going to be someone in the comments saying that it's going to be this time, it's going to be next quarter. Maybe it is, but how many quarters do you want to miss out on until you're right? You know, it's that whole broken clock thing. Well, when it comes to economic analysts, they called 20 of the last 2 recessions. You know, it's the same thing over and over again. So the markets are finally hitting green again. This is for the S&P 500. As you can see here, S&P 500 is up 18%, and I've said it does not pay to be fearful in a bull market. So the bull market is on. The fear began around here in April and continued up until yesterday, where it hit another new all-time high. You can see that here. It was through this area here, extreme fear, fear, and neutral. We go to the timeline. There is April, and you can see it went from neutral into fear, stayed in fear, just got out into neutral and greed, then went back into fear. This was while the stock market was going up. They were fearful while it was going up. I can't understand how this happens to investors, or maybe this is broken, like the crypto fear and greed index was broken. Well, that's what we thought at the time, but it actually was pretty well spot on. Anywho, you can see that there was a lot of fear while the S&P was going up and up and up. New all-time high, new all-time high, new all-time high, new all-time high, boom, another new all-time high, and we're now into Thursday's trading session. So 18% up on the year. Does not pay to be fearful in a bull market, because bear markets don't come around all that often. 2022 was the last one. I've shown other data whereby having a red year, 2022, then a green year, and then the probabilities of another red year after that are almost zero. You have to go back past 1960s to find a red, green, red year. So I'm not planning on 2024 being a red year. Could be wrong, we need our invalidation points, but when you just look at the data, it seems pretty unlikely. So this is all part of this never happening to Bitcoin or crypto in the cycle, right? We're at new all-time highs for almost everything. We've got new all-time high on the S&P 500. This is the VIX. I'm going to come back to this because this is a really, really important chart to have a look at. So let's have a look at the NASDAQ now. Again, yesterday, new all-time high price. And again, there's only a few stocks leading the charge at the moment, but eventually the laggards will likely catch up. So you want to be on the strong stuff that's leading the market. So NASDAQ up, new all-time high. Check that out. New all-time high, new all-time high, new all-time high, all-time high, all-time high. Apple, obviously one of the biggest companies in the world, leading the charge, new all-time highs, 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 highs. Amazon in new all-time highs. Google, new all-time high. We want to look at Facebook, trading around new all-time highs. Microsoft, trading above new all-time highs, or in that zone there. These are all new all-time high prices here. We're basically going to the Friday 5th, and then just below those at the moment. Nvidia, $135, getting very close to the previous old tops, and basically the second highest close in history. Tesla, 263, not new all-time highs, but there was a lot of people trying to short Tesla, and they have been crushed. Let me do that again. Crushed. Shorts are getting crushed. Sorry about those guys who are listening to this on earphones, but it does not pay to be fearful or bearish in a macro bull market. There are going to be some stocks or cryptos that are going down. Or forget cryptos, a lot of them go down all the time. There are going to be things that go down, but why keep trying to fight it? Why keep trying to be a hero pro trader that tries to short everything when it's breaking out to the upside? Just make it easy for yourself and go with the trend. The trend is your friend. We've got the Dow Jones It is less than 1% away from a new all-time high. We've got the Japanese Nikkei, so the stock market of Japan, one of the biggest economies in the world. Yes, their yen is going down. Maybe that's why their stock market's going up. But where would you rather put your money? Would you rather keep it in yen and hold on to that yen while it's going down, or would you rather put it into some assets that are going up to appreciate, to try our best to retain that purchasing power? That's probably the reason here, and people love to argue the point, but it's at a new all-time high price. Wouldn't you much rather be making 5% over the last few days as the market soars to new 34-year highs than holding on to your yen? You know, new all-time high here in Japan. New all-time high in India, and the Nifty. That was just yesterday. A new all-time high there at 24,500 points. Why does India matter? Well, China matters, and India is another major emerging market. So it's almost like there is a risk tolerance out there to be investing in countries and economies that are doing well through this part of the cycle. Winner's curse phase, remember, everything going up and up and up. Eventually it doesn't. Eventually, like it shows here, you get a peak and then a collapse. But once things start to break into new all-time highs, it's best not to try and keep calling a top, as I showed with this particular piece of data here. When it breaks in, invest at a new all-time high. You get better returns than investing elsewhere in the markets. Trying to predict tops, probably not the greatest game. Anyway, that's India, new all-time highs. Europe, we didn't forget about Europe. Euro Stoxx 50, so the top 50 in Europe is just short of the 2000 top here by about 10%. So here is the price, there is the top, 11.5%, call it 12%, just short of a new all-time high as well. So this has never happened in the history of Bitcoin and crypto, of the top 50 in Europe also being so high. Yeah, sure, they've got plenty of old economies, and it's pretty much just led by Germany, France, UK, and then of course a few others in there as well. But nonetheless, you're still seeing a macro bull market across the globe. That's what this is about. Winner's curse phase is happening across the world. It broke out of, you can see here, the resistance right through the middle there, broke out, looks like it's retesting now, you know, the breakout and then a retest to the upper side, and then looking to head higher. That was the top 50 in Europe. I'm out here on a deserted island in the middle of the Indian Ocean in Indonesia. Sometimes things happen to the internet. So here we are back at the VIX. Let's hope this holds out for us. Essentially, these spikes, the volatility in the VIX shows the times that the S&P 500 corrected. Now, it doesn't have to be significant corrections either. You can see these corrections here in 2011, 2010, 2015, 2018, and then that's 2020. We can leave that aside. These are just pretty insignificant corrections to give us these big spikes in the volatility index, so the VIX. Now, this is what I have coined the bull market zone, somewhere around 11 to 17. I posted about this in 2022 while other analysts were trying to call for another correction, another major crash for the S&P 500 as they tried to interpret the VIX. I think this is, well, from what I can see from my analysis, this is one of the easiest ways to interpret it, is just to look at the volatility and that it stays in this zone it can stay in this zone for many, many years. And it has done now. It just broke into it in May 2023, and we've been in this zone now for over 12 months. And I suspect it'll remain mostly in this bull market zone that I've coined here for the foreseeable future, looking at our winner's curse phase. So that's a look at the VIX there. Another reason for this further upside, and how this hasn't happened in Bitcoin's history, where we got, again, new all-time highs and basically low volatility on the S&P 500. Over to the US dollar. This is also starting to show a little bit of weakness again. So if we were to see the US dollar fall, that might then bring on, it will help the asset prices. Basically, if the US dollar is higher, it's a bit more pressure on asset prices. When the US dollar falls, there's a little less pressure on other assets, in particular commodities. And Bitcoin is trading a little bit like a commodity. Some would argue that even better than gold. So if it is in that camp of being a commodity, well, then you would want to see the US dollar continue to fall. That might be another fantastic narrative for the price increase of Bitcoin, and then eventually some more of that money flowing out into cryptos. The same thing happens across all these markets I've just shown you, where you've got a lot of profits being made or eventually being made. Investors, traders, they like to take a little bit of those profits off and then try to find something that might give them bigger returns. That is the greed phase of the winner's curse phase. It's a winner's curse. You are a winner in the market, in the S&P 500. You'll be a winner in your stocks that you're picking. You'll be a winner in Japan, a winner in India, a winner in Europe, if this wanted to show up. Essentially, the markets are going up. You take your profits, throw them into another asset class like crypto perhaps, and it doesn't have to be much because we know that the markets are very, very small in crypto, and then you start to see a lot of gains for no other reason than people are making money and they want to find somewhere else to make more money because they think they're heroes. We all think we're heroes when we're making money in the markets. There's your winner's curse phase. Okay, so if that wasn't enough looking at the dollar, here is part of the winner's curse phase as well. Just looking at a quick look at the commodities, you've got oil printing slightly higher prices again over the last couple of months after the big fear of Iran and Israel back in April. Market fell from that point and now trying to get back above 50% at $81 there. So now sitting at nearly 83. We potentially see commodities also increase in this stage of the cycle. And essentially, this has never happened before for Bitcoin and crypto. So we're seeing commodity prices in the case of metals here. We've got gold. Silver is quite high as well, around the $30 mark here. You can see at $31.30. Basically, gold is trading at new all-time high prices above $2,300 per ounce. The previous cycle, gold kept going while the market crashed. So the top of the stock market was October 2007. Gold went up, corrected with the rest of the market, and then took off for the final couple of years into 2011. Now, of course, the stock market corrected, but then also took off in that period, not to a new all-time high, but did do bigger gains than gold did through that particular move. Okay, then gold corrected, consolidated, and has now started to break into new all-time highs, and again into new all-time highs. So this is the first time we're seeing gold really establish a position in new all-time high territory, while Bitcoin is also on its bull run and had been at new all-time high prices back in March and potentially is consolidating. So here we are at Bitcoin. I know it's been a long video, but I've got to cover all of that because it's been a few days and the markets have been hitting new all-time highs all around the world. So we are in this phase where, new all-time highs, winner's curse. What happens with Bitcoin next? Could it be possible that everything goes to new all-time highs except Bitcoin? I am not taking that chance that Bitcoin won't be at new all-time highs because I'm seeing the rest of the world go to new all-time highs. And when it does go to new all-time highs, it just doesn't go in for a few days and then basically collapse. As it establishes a position in new all-time highs, typically goes for a lot longer from that point. So if you want to stay up to date with this, obviously subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you want to learn more about it for your own trading and investing portfolios, the link in the video description for TIA Premium, get on board with that before the rest of this winner's curse phase is out. That is going to be extremely helpful for this stage of the market, whether you're a crypto trader, Bitcoin investor, stock market investor, real estate investor. That is the place to go there, TIA Premium. So here we are with Bitcoin. You can see the correction here when you zoom out. It doesn't seem like such a big deal. The idea is that Bitcoin is consolidating to eventually get back above the 64K level, as I showed you in the intro here, because of the extreme greed that we saw, that our signals picked up at the time, and it just needed a lot longer to recuperate after that move, so we can eventually head to new fresh high prices. Now, it's similar to what has been going on through 2023. You can see early in March where it got that low and then that peak into April. It took about 6 to 7 months to consolidate and then take off from that point. And it had a couple of attempts, 1, 2, and then on the third one we started to break through. So we've really only had, the first move into the peak. Maybe that's 2, maybe we're going for 3 here. It could be a little longer than that. Maybe a move up, another correction, and then we start to push higher. The election is coming up, so I've still got that in the back of my mind. And any invalidation to the downside, well, basically any corrections to the downside are okay down to roughly the mid 40s to high 40s. And the invalidation to this, meaning that, well, it's all over for Bitcoin and the rest of the world can go up except for Bitcoin, would be a break and monthly close underneath the mid 40s there. You can see the price here, roughly $44,600. That would be a pretty disgusting level for the bulls should Bitcoin close on a monthly basis under that level. We've got plenty more to cover with BTC moving forward from here. Also, the cryptos we'll cover in a future video, but still looking in a healthy position. I think I've loaded you with enough info and potentially hopium for this video. I hope to see you back at the next one. And if you guys are wondering, I'm over in Kandui in the MentorWise trying to pick up my surfing game. Definitely humbles me over here, or in surfing in general. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the challenge, and I'll see you guys back at the next video. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe to the channel, TI Premium in the top of the video description, and I'll see you back whenever the surf is not pumping. All right, take care and peace out.